What is your reaction to hearing what Donald Trump says?
Disgusted. Well, I want to talk to the Trump supporters for a minute. I don't know who you are, and I don't know why you like this guy. I think what you like about him, he appears to be strong when the rest of us are weak. He's a very successful businessman, and he's going to make everything great. He's going to take all the problems of the world and put them in a box and make your life better. That's what he's selling. Here's what you're buying. He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. He doesn't represent my party. He doesn't represent the values that the men and women who wear the uniform are fighting for. I've been in the Air Force for 33 years. I retired this June. He's the ISIL Man of the Year, by the way. He just got back from Iraq a week ago this Monday.
What were they saying there about all of this?
The military leadership and the diplomatic corps. Now, we have young men and women in harm's way all over the world, particularly in the Mideast. They were concerned about this rhetoric because the enemy will use it against us. So what was a concern last week has to be DEFCON 4 this week. Because what Mr. Trump is doing, and I don't think he has a clue about anything, he's just trying to get his numbers up and get the biggest reaction he can. He's putting our soldiers and diplomats at risk. He's empowering the enemy. And this ban, if it's actually enacted, would take people who have been interpreters, who came to our side in Iraq and Afghanistan, who are under siege in their own countries, and basically becomes a death sentence for them.
You're saying he's empowering the enemy.
Yes.
You draw a direct line between his rhetoric and what, recruitment for ISIS?
Yeah, they use that to turn the region against us. I've been there 36 times. I can tell you that most Muslims, most people in the faith, reject this radical ideology. The reason we'll win this war is because very few fathers and mothers want to turn their daughters over to ISIL. The way you win the war, just don't kill terrorists. You invest in the lives of others. Young people in the Mideast are less sectarian. That's where we should be investing. Giving a young woman a voice about her children in the Mideast is the ultimate antidote to terrorism. That's how you win the war. A hopeful life versus a glorious death. And what Mr. Trump is doing is undercutting everything we stand for. He's undercutting how you win the war. He's empowering the enemy, and he's putting people at risk who are serving our country. Now, he's never served. Going to a military high school, Donald, is really not military service. You've never worn the uniform. You've never been on a forward operating base. You've never been at a PRT as a member of the Department of Justice or the Department of State. You've never been a USAID worker going into some devastated poor area in Iraq and Afghanistan trying to help our country by helping others. So knock it off. You're putting people at risk. He is empowering radical Islam, and if you knew anything about the world at all, you would know that most Muslims reject this ideology, and they've died by the thousands trying to combat this radical ideology. You're undercutting their efforts. You're slandering their sacrifice. You're marginalizing what they're trying to do to make the world a better place. You know how you win this war? You side with people in the faith who reject this ideology, which is 99%. And you know how you make America great again? Tell Donald Trump to go to hell.
United States senators that are elected by the people in their state don't want to cast a tough vote. They block everybody from voting. I have no idea why Rand Paul cannot get a vote on his amendment. It is ridiculous. He's been trying to get a vote on it for years, and we block it. Why is that? I want to say for the record, I've held amendments this morning until we could work out the solution we have. I am not holding any amendments, none, zero. I'm holding no one's amendment. But we as senators, we're worried somehow that this, gosh almighty, somebody I heard Senator from Texas, the senior senator from Texas, saying the other day, well, gosh, we might upset the president. We might upset the president of the United States before the midterms. So, gosh, we can't vote on the Corker Amendment because we're taking, rightly so, the responsibilities that we have to deal with tariffs and revenues. We can't do that because we'd be upsetting the president of the United States. I can't believe it. I would bet that 95% of the people on this side of the aisle support intellectually this amendment. I would bet that. I would bet higher than 95%. And a lot of them would vote for it if it came to a vote. But no. Gosh, We might poke the bear, is the language I've been hearing in the hallways. We might poke the bear. The president might get upset with us as United States senators if we vote on the Corker Amendment. So we're going to do everything we can to block it. If people don't like it, they can vote up or down. People can vote up or down, but no. The United States Senate right now, on June the 12th, is becoming a body where, well, we'll do what we can do, but my gosh, if the president gets upset with us, then we might not be in the majority. And so let's don't do anything that might upset the president.
We gathered 6 women, all of whom voted for Donald Trump in 2016. But not all of them still feel good about that vote. Here's our latest Pulse of the People. All right, show of hands, how many of you voted for Donald Trump in 2016? All of you. Okay, show of hands. How many of you plan to vote for him in 2020? Now, you know, just because you raised 2 hands doesn't mean you can vote twice. I just want to be clear.
We do know that. Just
vote. Okay, so 3 of you plan to vote for him again in 2020. How many of you plan to vote for Joe Biden? Okay, 3 hands went up there, the bottom row. So, Ann, let me just start with you. How did President Trump lose your vote?
I voted for him in 2016 because he wasn't a normal politician. I have to admit, I didn't pay too much attention until the pandemic started. The pandemic was when my eyes began to open, and June 1st, when he said U.S. troops on peaceful protesters in Lafayette Square, that was my cross the line moment.
And how do you feel now about your 2016 vote for him?
I think it's one of, if not the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life. I feel like voting for him helped kill over 100,000 Americans.
So, Jessica, what do you think of the president's response to COVID?
It's been abysmal. He's disappointed and abandoned the American people. My defining moment is when he said he takes no responsibility. Buck stops with you. You took the job, do the job.
For me, it started almost immediately from day one when he lied about how big the crowd was at his inauguration. And I have tracked him since then, and he lies every day to us. I don't know. The one thing he has told the truth about, he has not taken 1 ounce of responsibility for COVID. From day one, we should have had a national mandate on wearing masks. We could have had this thing under control in 6 weeks if he had just done his job.
He is the only leader that hasn't followed the science, the data, and the experts' advice. 4% of the world's population, we should have under 50,000 deaths. We have over 180,000 deaths. That's not doing a good job.
Let's talk about the death toll. Has everyone read the CDC report that just came out? My goodness. It is a fraction of what they originally said.
And what the CDC says is that 6% of the people who've died from COVID also had comorbidities such as diabetes, but they would still be here today if they hadn't gotten COVID.
Well, then we'll agree to disagree.
So just to be clear, Ella, you don't believe that 183,000 Americans have died?
Not of COVID, no.
Joe Biden, he was the vice president for 8 years. So why didn't they prepare for a pandemic?
They did prepare a pandemic playbook that the Department of Homeland Security under President Obama handed over to the Trump administration. They had a pandemic office, which President Trump shut down. And so they say that they did try to prepare the incoming administration.
I want to ask you not to, if you don't want to, comment on the President of the United States, but is the right direction for police today in this environment to go out and dominate and to show that they're quote unquote not weak? What should the police be doing now to calm this terrible situation?
Let me just say this to the President of the United States on behalf of the police chiefs in this country. Please, if you don't have something constructive to say, keep your mouth shut, because you're putting men and women in their early 20s at risk. This is not about dominating, it's about winning hearts and minds. And let's be clear, we do not want people to confuse kindness with weakness, but we don't want ignorance to ruin what we've got here in Houston. And speaking for my colleagues across the country, where their officers are being injured, community members are being injured, if you don't have something to say, like Forrest Gump, then don't say it, because that's the basic tenets of leadership, and we need leadership now more than ever. And it hurts me to no end, because whether we vote for someone, we don't vote for someone, it's still our president. But it's time to be presidential and not try to be like you're on The Apprentice. This is not Hollywood. This is real life, and real lives are at risk. And I ask the American people to please join with the police, stand together. Let's shift this to where it needs to be, to the voting booth. Pay attention to the hearts and of the people that we elect. And the reason this stuff happens is because too many people right now in this country that are throwing bricks and damaging property never bother to vote. So you have a choice. Lift up your voice, be heard in the voting booth, and continue to march peacefully. So the focus remains on bad policing, criminal policing. And let's be real honest, this is not just about policing. It's about society and this disproportionality of the things going on in our country, from education to health to food to everything that we all as human beings hold near and dear. So please don't react to that. If we just hug one another, the only thing that will happen to overcome hate is love and engagement. Let's engage and let's do what we can control, which is our own actions, our own hearts, and exercise without fail our right to vote.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still